Hello again, everyone, for 411 Wrestling Podcast Interviews. I am Jerry Strauss. Guys, we have got a very exciting conversation ahead of us today. I'm going to be helming some conversations with some of the most fascinating, popular, exciting, and most in-demand personalities from pro wrestling's past, present, and future. We're going to be doing it right here on 411 Wrestling Podcast, because right now our very first guest here, one of your favorites from Tuesday nights live, from pay-per-view, from WWE, from the big screen, from just about every freaking where you could think of, CJ Perry, known to many of you as Lana. Hey, how are you?
Good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I'm sorry. I feel like I steamrolled over you with that intro. I laid it on a little thick. I'm sorry. It's what we do.
No, it was great. It was great. We could have added like the ravishing Russian Lana, but it's fine. I'll forgive you.
I appreciate it. I mean, we do do-overs here. If you want, we could do like the Greg Hamilton thing. You could have me do it over 4 or 5 times. We'll get it right. We'll get there.
It's okay. It's okay. I'll forgive you.
I appreciate it. So what is going on in your world now? We're a couple of weeks removed from WrestleMania, the craziness, the insanity. First of all, for those following you on social media, you've been out and about. You've been all up in Coachella this year from the looks of things. What was that experience like, and how long were you there?
It was insane. It was a lot. Coachella was always on my bucket list. Like I have a whole bunch of basically a bucket list of things I want to do in my life, just like personally, like experiences that I want to do. If it's like going to Coachella or traveling to Thailand, or there's skydiving. There's so many different things. Getting certified in scuba diving. I love scuba diving, but I want to get certified. And there's just like a list of things that I have, a bucket list of what I want to do, that is just like experiencing life. And I think as a performer and as an entertainer, someone that works in this crazy entertainment business, and it's really good to set things like this to do that are normal and to experience normality, because you need to live life. And also a lot of times normal experiencing life and its beauty will help you become a better artist, entertainer, and athlete. And so that's why I like that. Sometimes it's really hard for me to take a pause though, because I love working. But it was great. I can't wait to go back. Coachella was insane. There's a lot of people. Like when they say, I was forewarned by everyone, every single one of my friends that had done it. They're like, there's so many people. Uber and Lyft is like craziness. You're going to walk a lot, and still being like all of that, being prepared for that still didn't really prepare me enough for it. Like you're literally walking 5 miles before you can catch an Uber or a Lyft. It's insane. And when they say thousands of people, that's an understatement as well. Like more like hundreds. 1,000. But it's great. I really want to go back. I want to bring Rusev, or AKA Miroslav, my husband. But I have to go first and scout out the land. I'm like legit his manager in life, and not just ringside, but like his legit manager. So like I have to go first and experience it, and work out all the kinks, and before I could take him, because with him it has to be smooth sailing. Like he wouldn't have been able to do what I did this year. Like just it was insane, but it was great. It was great, and I can't wait. I actually want to go back like in 2 weeks from now, because we have a weekend off in WWE, no live events in 2 weeks, and I'm like, let's go to Stagecoach.
Oh my goodness.
We both love country music, so like let's go to Stagecoach. It's gonna be the first neon party ever. And he's just looking at me like I'm insane, but I'm still trying to convince him. Like, if I get artist tickets, will you go? But he likes to play video games. I know.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, that seems kind of natural. I mean, just all the things that we hear about being part of WWE during WrestleMania season, and especially WrestleMania week, and especially WrestleMania week in New York and the Jersey area, the way it was this year. I mean, it sounds like it had to have been exhausting just being in that atmosphere, let alone having places to be and people to see. What was it like for you compared to, say, the past few WrestleMania years?
This past, like, go on this WrestleMania compared to all the other WrestleMania?
Yeah, just sort of the craziness of everything going on in New York City and the area.
Gosh, I love WrestleMania so much. Like, every year it's so exciting. And the cool thing about WrestleMania is that we do have it in different cities. So it really does have a different vibe, really completely a different vibe. I would say just for like cities alone, like I'm not talking about like actual, like what I'm doing at WrestleMania, but just like comparing like the WrestleMania city vibes and the arenas. I would say my favorite so far is New Orleans and New York City, for sure. New Orleans is one of my favorite American cities. It has so much culture. It has so much to go on, so much happening. Bourbon Street is so much fun. Then you can go out to like, you know, the Gators and do a Gator tour, a ghost tour, or, you know, you have so much history. And it's just you can walk everywhere. And I really, really like that. It's warm. The Superdome is absolutely phenomenal. But then New York City is, I mean, it's New York City. That's also one of my favorite American cities. There's so much going on. There's, you know, so much history there. My family came, we went to the Statue of Liberty. Pretty much every night I ate at my favorite Russian restaurant, which is called Merivana. And I literally went there every single night. I'm like, hey, I really am Russian. I grew up in Russia and I have my Russian cravings. If you're in New York City, you got to try it out. It's called Merivana. It's the best Russian food you'll ever have. And it's just, you feel like you're going to Russia. And the way they set it up and everything. And then, you know, it's MetLife Stadium. I mean, talk about history that's there. I mean, so much history. It's epic. And it's just really, really cool. I always like to go on Sunday, the day of WrestleMania, and just sit in the stadium and like look out and look at the set and look at how many people are going to sit there. It's huge. And just always gratitude really, really fills my heart because I've been able to be in every single WrestleMania except for, I believe, 2017, which was right before my in-ring debut. And so they kept me off. Like, Rusev was getting surgery, and I was making the transition from being a full-time manager to a full-time in-ring competitor. And so they were starting my vignettes the following day. So I've been very, very fortunate to have everything, like to be in every Mania since I've debuted. And you know, that it's an honor. Not everyone gets to be able to say that or do that. And I've, you know, was able to have an incredible entrance before women had incredible entrances, besides Stephanie McMahon. I was able to come out in 2015 at the 49ers Stadium with literally an entire army and Rusev on a tank. I mean, even at that, I'm like, God, I pretty much, you know, a lot of people will never get that. So to be able to have that, and then to be able to debut at the I believe it's the Levi Stadium. Is that the Dallas Cowboys Stadium?
Sounds right. Yeah.
Oh, no, AT. Levi is, I want to say, the 49er Stadium, and the AT&T is the Dallas. AT&T Stadium, which is phenomenal as well. I mean, that stadium, the Dallas Cowboys Stadium, the AT&T Stadium, is absolutely will blow you, like how incredible that stadium is. And I was able to have my wrestling debut there in front of a record-breaking amount of people at 101,000 people. And so that obviously has a very, very special place in my life and heart. And then last year we had the first ever women's battle royal, and I was at the Superdome, which I remember in 2014 actually watching WrestleMania there, like watching Brock beat Undertaker with Paul Heyman. And I remember watching it from the crowd and basically being the only person standing up to scream out of excitement. Everyone was devastated, crying. I'm like, yes! So to be able to come, I always wanted to perform there, but it was the next day we were debuting with Rusev in New Orleans. And so it was really cool to be able to be a part of the first ever women's battle royal at at the Superdome last year. And then this year I was able to do two things. And a lot of people don't get to do that. They either wrestle or they manage. And I was able to be a part of the Women's Battle Royal, have an upset and eliminate Ember Moon. People are always underestimating me, always thinking like, always underestimating. And it's like, you know what? I eliminated one of your favorite people and one of the top in-ring competitors out there. So watch out. Don't underestimate me or underestimate me. Maybe that's my superpower. And,
CJ, do you like that at this stage of the game? Is that something that excites you? Just this place where you are, where people know what a great personality you are. They love seeing you on TV, but you still have that level of where people underestimate what you can do in the ring. So they don't necessarily, you don't have to always constantly fight, to uphold a certain standard. Instead, you're in a position where you're constantly able to surprise people and kind of turn them on their heads and just show people that you're capable of more than they think. Is that a cool place to be for you?
Oh, yes, I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it because people don't realize, like, every single week, 3 times a week, I'm wrestling at live events. And I wrestle, for about, I would say, at least a year, every 3 days a week at live events as a heel, as a villain at live events. And then I was a babyface, a good guy, for about 6-7 months, wrestling every single week. And so just because people didn't see it on TV, I was getting those reps. I was wrestling with these girls that are on TV on SmackDown Live. And, I feel a lot more confident than when I first debuted, and I feel comfortable. And it's just like, just give me that chance. Give me that one. When that opportunity comes, like, I know I'll kick it out of the park, and I will prove all my doubters wrong. And I love that. And doubt me, underestimate me, please. Like, go ahead.
I got to ask you, many of the questions that we got they echoed something that I've been curious about. And I wasn't sure if it's just because I'm kind of an old guy and I didn't get it and I don't know what it means. But you have just been exploding on social media over the last month or two with this salty hashtag. You've been using it as much as possible. What does that refer to? What does that mean?
Well, I strongly believe in grabbing the brass ring from social media, from Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, all our social platforms where we, basically have freedom of speech. We have, this is, in the United States of America and a lot of parts of the world, we have the great thing that we have is this thing called freedom of speech, and we're able to voice our freedom of speech on social media. And when I turned right up the Royal Rumble, Rusev and I became villains again, aka heels, or whatever we are referring to it here on this podcast. And I was aware of this for about 2 weeks, or at least a week beforehand. And going into the Royal Rumble, I knew like what was going to be the whole outcome of the whole situation. And my whole idea was to be so broken that when Becky Lynch took my opportunity, when I got hurt and still trying to push through, and making it very, very vulnerable, and making it very, that's why if you watch the .com that I did, I broke down crying, saying, I'm tired of people taking opportunities away from me. And I think that's very relatable. A lot of people can relate to that, getting so close to something and then it being taken away from them, or feeling like they're not given the opportunities that they should be given. And I wanted us to show that vulnerability and the heartbreak, because then what happens in life, there's different types of people. From heartbreak, sometimes people choose to do the right thing, and they're going to choose to forgive and be grateful and do the right thing. Or sometimes from heartbreak and disappointment, our heart becomes ice cold, and we become bitter, and we become salty, and we become angry at the world. And that is what I chose to do. That was my character development. It's like, okay, instead of, forgiving, I became bitter. I became salty AF, and salty at everything. And salty that my leg was hurt. Salty that Becky took my opportunity. I mean, I was going to win the whole entire Royal Rumble and main event. You know, why? Maybe I was planning on staying underneath the ring the whole entire time, and then hitting some Charlotte or whoever last was with a chair. I have a plan. I mean, I have a freaking amazing plan. So yes, I'm salty. And then I was, you know, imagine having a best friend like Naomi, and you're always have her back, and you're teaming with her every week. And then, like, you know, I can't compete because of my leg. Of course I'm salty, you know. And I think that's like, I started to use that on Twitter and on YouTube and these places because, you know, on SmackDown Live, it's only a 2-hour show, and sometimes you're not given mic time because there's a lot of talent, and you can only do so much on a 2-hour show. So it was like I started expressing these things on Twitter and YouTube and on social media, and I was getting a lot of heat from it. People were getting really angry, and I just cracked up because I'm like, wow, you guys are just biting on my bait so easy. And like, literally, God, I love being a villain. It's so much fun. And, you know, then I made a salty video that, you know, rumor had it that Ronda Rousey took my spot on Total Divas. Of course I'm salty. I mean, she's not a reality star. She's an MMA, WWE star. I mean, of course, WWE stars, we can be reality stars. So all of this was like, you know, a version of Lana, the ravishing Russian character, becoming very, very bitter and salty. And I was just using character development on my social medias, and from like, how can I get heat? Like, I want to get booed, and it worked. Like, people were just fighting on the bait. And it's really for my own entertainment a lot of times, just being like, wow, God, this is so much fun. And you know, I love being a villain. It's so much fun.
It's interesting because you've been around long enough now that I think, like anybody, not even just in the WWE, but in the entertainment business in general, I'm sure you've had these feelings of being close to opportunities, feeling like they've slipped away from you. Is that something that helps fuel you when you do something like this, you know, on social media, on TV? Are those real emotions that you can kind of tap into?
I think you always have to do any good acting performance, if it's, you know, in a movie, on TV, WWE, whatever you're doing, you know, play, you have to tap into real emotions. That's what good acting is finding an extension of yourself. And some things are, the extension is much further, and so you have to do a lot more digging. But you have to, like, ask yourself those questions. I mean, I recently had a conversation with Zelina Vega, and she was like, well, what would get my character? I don't know why my character would do this. And I was like, I'm stuck in that position a lot of times. I'm like, why would they want me to react a certain way or be a certain type of way? And then the question I asked myself is, what would make CJ do this in life? Like, what would push me to this extent? What circumstance would push me to this extent that would make me act this way? And when it's hard and you can't figure it out, that's when you start asking yourself that question. What would make me do this in life? What circumstance? And sometimes you have to really dig deep and try to find it. Sometimes it's harder than others, but like, that's our job. That is, you know, our job is to find the extension of ourselves. And sometimes it's a lot easier than others. But with the salty thing, I just think it's very, very relatable. I mean, people are salty all the time. People are salty when they sit in traffic. People are salty about the rain. People were salty when, I was laughing my little butt off when I was like, you know, all salty, and all of Twitter is salty that I'm salty. And then the next thing you know, Asuka drops the title and all of Twitter is salty. And I'm like, hello, I'm glad that you guys are finally getting on board on the salty train, on the salty club. You know, they're quick to be salty. They're always salty. You know, the WWE universe doesn't like to hear that, but they're always salty about everything. And, you know, it's like, please don't freaking point at the little speck in my eye when you have a freaking plank in your eye. So, you know, I do what I do. I like to keep it 100.
Well, you know, I'm thinking back, and I remember because you and I spoke for a different podcast a while back, and I remember you speaking with a lot of passion and a lot of excitement about the opportunity that you and Rusev had to work on a regular basis as sort of the protagonist to John Cena. and kind of just going out, having match after match, and learning different ways to kind of be that villain, to be that counterpoint to essentially the biggest star, the biggest hero in WWE at the time. Now, since then, you've had a taste of maybe being those heroes, as you kind of alluded to before, being on the, the shoe being on the other foot. Where do you feel now that you guys together, like, where did you prefer? What do you like better? And like, what was kind of tougher to navigate from a career perspective and a creative one?
Well, I mean, whatever they give me, I will do, and I'll do it to the best of my ability. And I think I can do both pretty well. As a villain or a superhero, as a good guy or a bad guy, I think I can, do at this point, like, okay, whatever you need, boss. If this is what you need, great. I will grab the brass ring doing it. But I do think I have more fun being a villain, definitely. I think as a in-ring competitor, I think I can't, if you're getting into like specific terminologies of wrestling, like I know I sell well, I know I, can get sympathy, the crowd, but it's just so much more fun being a villain. I mean, come on, like, let's think about it. Do we want to count our blessings or do we want to complain? When do people bond more? Like I look at the locker room. The locker room always bonds a little bit more when we're being salty and complaining than versus like, oh, # blessed. Now, don't get me wrong. I count my blessings and I start my morning of counting my blessings. And I am extremely, extremely, extremely grateful for all the things that I get to do in my life. So CJ Perry is saying, no, you should be grateful. You should count your blessings. The Ravishing Russian Lana says, no, let's all be salty together. She brings the Russian side out. But that once again, that's where it goes. When you ask, you go, is it a version of the truth? Well, the version of the truth is, the reality is, people usually, if you think about it, if you actually stop and think, people bond a little bit more over complaining than they do over, like,
For sure. That's
counting, and that's why Twitter bonds. They're always complaining.
Hey, that's why we're here at 411 Mania. That's what's keeping us in business.
Yeah. I mean, and so that's why I'm like, I take that version of the truth and I run with it. I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna be salty. But I love being a bad guy. I know, as a good guy, when you're undeniably popular, let's say like Becky Lynch right now, or John Cena, you don't have to beg for it. You're undeniably popular, so you can go out there and do anything, and you're going to get cheered. When you're lukewarm, like when you're a popular good guy, but not undeniably, it's a little bit harder to like provoke for that. You can definitely get it, and you can definitely make the match right and tell the right story, and tell a simple good versus evil story in a match or, in a promo, and definitely get that reaction. But it's just like, for me as a bad guy, I know I can go out there and I can turn the crowd. Like, I know I can get a cheer when I come out, and I know I can turn that crowd. Hand me the microphone and give me 20 seconds and the whole place will be booing me out of the building. The loudest boo. And I know that, like, because I do that at live events. Rusev and I will come out and they'll cheer for him and I'll get cheered, and I take that microphone and I can turn that crowd in 30 seconds. The place, we're getting booed out of the building. So, and that's like last month working with Mike the Miz, or a couple weeks ago. So I'm very like comfortable. Maybe just also, if I've been with the company for 5 years, 4 years I've been a villain, and 1 year, if you take my first run as a babyface, like 6 months, and my second one is like about a year. So, that might be it too, but you just have so much more fun. I mean, if you can cheat, why not cheat? Of course I'm going to cheat if I'm a bad guy. Like, I love cheating. Like, why wouldn't I try to cheat to win? So much more fun. So yes, my answer would be, I enjoy being a bad guy.
It's so, your passion.
I enjoy stirring the pot. Like, when I come out there and I'm like, stirring the pot on Twitter, stirring the pot on the microphone, stirring the pot in wrestling, in the ring. It's just amazing. I love it. I find it gives me so much joy to my heart. And then, you know, the good guys always win, and the good guys kick my butt. And seeing that gratification of like all the people so excited to see the good guys kick my butt is like, I'm like, oh, I had a part of getting that good guy this reaction because I did my part so well.
And you had a lot of fun messing with people. We're going to be fielding questions from a lot of fans from 411 Wrestling, from Twitter, from all over social media. I think you are probably looking forward to messing with these people just as much as you are answering questions. Before we get there, CJ, I think there's something else we need to hit on that I don't think everybody knows about you. And, you know, that's the fact that aside from everything else that you do in wrestling, everything you've done in acting, you're also huge into the comic book world. And that's something that is really coming to light now because you've got this unbelievable opportunity that you've put out there for the people. Do you want to talk about that? This is something called Dark Country, right?
Yes. Dark Country comic. Very, very, very excited about. I'm collaborating and writing a comic with Jason Starr, who is a very well-known comic writer and novelist, and he's written comics for The Punisher and Deadpool and many other great comics and novels, thriller novels. And we're Rusev and I, Miroslav and I are collaborating with him on writing our first comic, which I'm so excited. I'm a huge comic book fan. I'm a huge, anything to do with fantasy. I mean, I kind of probably anything to do with like major, like good versus evil, but I just love like, you know, anything to do with sci-fi or, you know, Star Wars was always my favorite movies growing up, still is. Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, anything to do with like magic and fantasy, and watch Star Trek growing up. I love all the Marvel and DC comics. I read them, I read them, watch all of it from TV to the movies. And it just always was my dream to write a comic, and it was just like finding the right person and finding the right idea. So it's really exciting that we've already mapped out and written, started like almost finished writing the first comic, and now we wanted to make our fan base and all our followers on Instagram and Twitter and the WWE universe and the comic world a part of our journey and a part of us creating this comic book. And so we decided to issue instead of just hiring an artist, we wanted to issue a challenge and issue for a paying gig. The artist would get paid, but also like be able to collaborate with us, collaborate with Rusev and I, Miroslav, and Jason and I. And you can submit it. The deadline is May 1st, so it's coming up. May 1st, you can submit to darkcountrycomic@gmail.com. Submit your art. And we've gotten some amazing already submissions. We issued it April 1st, and we've gotten some amazing people already. So just keep on submitting, and it's really, really cool to read these emails. I mean, I personally have read every single one, and Rusev and I have gone through every single one personally, and Jason has, and it's really like cool to see what, you know, people have sent and what they've written. And we just want to issue it to everyone and make that announcement and have people keep on sending stuff. May 15th, we'll make the announcement. And then, you know, we're going to be sharing the collaboration as we go. It's going to be documented and everything. And you just never know. Like, some people in these emails were like, oh, we were scared to submit. And like, you know, our uncle encouraged us, like, submit it. Like, don't be afraid. Like, and that's the whole part of why we're giving this opportunity, is because we want to give people that might have never had this chance an opportunity. Someone gave me an opportunity. Someone gave Rusev an opportunity. Someone gave Jason an opportunity. And it's like, we want to give others opportunity. And so, yeah. Don't be afraid. That's what I really want to encourage. Is like some of these emails, people were like, we were so scared. Like, even if you're scared, submit it. Like, don't let fear dictate your life. Like, you have to run into your fear.
Absolutely,
That's my
absolutely.
little announcement.
And what a,
My
what a great,
motivational speech.
what a great creative team. Even if you don't know anything about comic books, or even if you don't know anything about
Yeah,
what the premise of Dark Country is, I'm pretty
totally.
sure this conversation will convince you guys that CJ Perry, that Lana knows about good guys, knows about bad guys, knows how to tell a kick-ass story. So this is going to be a great project to be involved with. People are curious about all aspects of your life. We're going to start things off with DJFA_E. Is there anything in, just in general that you miss from your time in Europe? And you and I, in an older podcast, we talked all about your history, your life story. And for those who don't know, maybe you could summarize that a bit for people who don't really realize just how crazy your life has been. But you're basically the real life Black Widow from the MCU.
Yeah.
Tell us about where you've been in the world in your life, and do you miss it? Do you have a calling elsewhere outside the U.S.?
Well, I lived in Russia for 13 years, so I grew up over there in the former Soviet Union, Latvia. I speak fluent Russian. I feel like I've been to like 80 countries. Lived in South America when I was really little. I've lived all over. I might be like a secret agent or a double agent or a triple agent or quadruple agent. Who's to say?
I like how you might. You can't say for sure.
I might. I know I can't give all that information away. Most definitely probably a spy. No, but I miss Europe. Europe is great. There is just a different pacing in Europe. All of Europe, and especially like Eastern Europe. I feel like America, we sometimes just get so caught up in our careers and we're all workaholics. We hardly ever take a vacation. If it is a vacation, it's only a week. There in Latvia, they have month vacations. You get a month leave off in the summer. And so it's just a different, they have lunch hours for a couple hours, everything shuts down. And it's just like, you're able to spend time a little bit more together. And I think that's food is served on china, beautiful china instead of paper plates. And it's just a different, the arts and culture is really valued over there. And here it's like American football and potato chips and hot dogs. I'm stereotyping a little bit, but that there is that version of the truth. And it's just, there's culture and music and art is really, really valued over there. And I miss that. I miss the value of just taking your time and having dinner and eating for hours and talking and eating and talking and eating and talking and eating versus everything here is more rushed. Like go, go, go. We're going to miss the next thing. We're going to miss it. And I get caught up in that myself. Like, I'm not saying I'm a victim of it. And I think that's why I miss that, because, it's kind of like, no, it's okay. You sit down, like watch the sunset, like just relax. Enjoy life, talk to each other, go to a museum, go to a ballet, just enjoy life. And I think that we as Americans, and I'm saying that as myself as well, can do more of that.
Do you feel like a pulling, a yearning someday, maybe beyond your WWE career, at some point to go back there on a more permanent basis?
Probably. Rusev and I talk about that a lot. I mean, I know he will love to have his, to buy a house. That we already bought a house there for his parents. But we would love to buy another house there eventually, and maybe live there half the year, or live there in the summers. And I think it's really good to raise children over there. I was raised over there and really defined my life. I think the reason why I am a really good storyteller and I am so creative is because I grew up with only one TV in our house and had no cable. My mom refused to have cable. We only were able to have, is it VHSs? Is that what we called them? I forgot.
Yeah, back in the day. Yep.
Yes, and that was the only way I could watch wrestling or Super Bowl or any Star Trek. My grandmother would tape it and send it to us. And so we were only allowed to watch that at a limited time. And the rest, my mom was like, go play outside. And so, we would create so much. You know, I would put on plays, I put on ice skating shows, dog shows, musicals. I was always creating, and I had 4 siblings, and we had everyone in the neighborhood, and we would just create and play. And I think it really stimulated my mind to be able to use my imagination. And I mean, look at what Walt Disney did with imagination.
Sure.
So yeah,
absolutely.
so I do think it's very important. I want my kids to be able to have that. I don't want them just to be defined by like social media or, you know, the latest technology. Like, that is great. And social media and technology is an incredible, powerful tool, and it's amazing. But at the same time, like, we cannot just be glued to that. We have to be able to, you know, unleash our imagination and use our minds. And I think we have to turn all of that off. If not, we don't connect with one another. We just connect with that social media, the people we don't know versus the people we do know. And also, we don't fully use our imagination.
Hey, you know, you mentioned Walt Disney. How about Vince McMahon? You know, you live in a world that's created by a guy who essentially fuels it with imagination. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, no, totally. Vince is incredible.
I adore Bella's from Twitter would like to know, how many more years do you have in mind to continue wrestling or to be a WWE superstar?
Oh gosh, that's such a hard question. I mean, I love WWE so much. There's no greater thing in the world than the WWE universe. I mean, we have a love-hate relationship, but at least they feel passionate about me. They love me one second, boo me the next, but at least we're passionately feeling an emotion towards each other. And that's what I love about the WWE universe. It's like they feel something strongly towards me, and I'm very, very thankful for that. And I love it. There's nothing more in the world than I love than performing in front of the WWE universe. So I would like to do it as long as I can. Long as they'll have me.
That's fair.
I love it. I mean, there's no adrenaline rush that you have than when I walk out of that curtain and I'm either wrestling or talking on the microphone. And I truly, truly love that. And I would like to wrestle as long as I can. And there's no greater rush. And I love the challenge, and I love learning. I'm always learning. As a human, I just love to continue to grow and learn. And I feel like that's what I'm always doing in wrestling. I love that. And also, you know, like maybe at some point, you know, I might be not young enough to wrestle anymore. I don't know. But I would love to be, you know, I don't want to say Paul Heyman of the women's division, but or even of the women's and males division. But I would love to, I want to be the first Lana, the first Ravishing Russian, but to be able to be a mouthpiece. There's so many internationals coming in, so many people, you know, from China, Japan, India, Africa that are coming through the Performance Center in Orlando and NXT. And a lot of these people don't speak fluent English or don't speak English at all. And
Sure.
They're going to need mouthpieces. They're going to need, like, that's the whole point of a manager. Is back in the day, they gave people managers because they couldn't talk very well as these other, as maybe their mouthpiece. But now it's like people might be able to be amazing at promos, but they might not be able to speak English. And so it's like, I mean, Asuka's a perfect example. I mean, she's incredible. Asuka's one of my favorite WWE superstars. She's an incredible character, incredible in ring. And I'm so excited that she has Paige now as her mouthpiece. And because, you know, we need to be able to convey more things than she can just like a couple sentences. And even though her couple sentences are very powerful whenever she does talk. And so I would love to do that. And, you know, hopefully I can do that until I'm 100 or something, until I, you know, come out there and represent people that need to be represented. And I talk for them. I'm their negotiator. I'm their agent. I'm their person that what they want to tell the WWE universe, I get to say because they don't speak fluent English.
You know, it's amazing. The WWE, the universe gets bigger as the world is getting smaller, and that's creating more and more opportunity for someone who can see it like you. So that really is, you know, till you're 100, you know, that's totally
that would be my dream. I would do that for the rest of my life if I could. I mean, as movies and TV shows, they're great. I've done it. It's fun, but it's nothing like performing in front of a live audience. I mean, I in performing in front of the WWE universe. Like I'm not that person that's come to this business just to create a name for myself and to leave. No, there's nothing more I love than performing and entertaining and telling stories to the WWE universe.
Here's a question that I think you hinted at before, at least we can kind of surmise based on the life story that you summarized for us. Philip Pajic would like to know, how hard was it for you to maintain a Russian accent when you were using that on camera, on screen?
I mean, I guess I have to talk slower. I talk really, really fast. And so I think it's sometimes harder for me to talk with no accent, to be quite honest. Because I talk really fast, and then I listen to myself back, and I'm like, "Whoa, I need to slow down." So when I was doing the full Russian accent, that wasn't hard. I mean, it just, once I got into that mindset, I grew up around Russians. I grew up around people with accents, so it was just like I just talked like that all the time, and I felt like it was sometimes when I talk without an accent, I talk fast, and I have to remind really fast. I talk really fast in real life, and I have to remind myself to like kind of slow down a little bit. And so that is a little bit of a challenge. I think a little bit of the challenge more was probably last year I was told they wanted me to lessen my accent like lessen my accent until I had no accent. And so I kept on doing that. And I think that we get a little irritated, like not even irritating because you just can't get irritated, but with the WWE universe, that they would be like, oh, she's going in and out of the accent. It's like, no, I'm not going in and out of the accent. I'm purposely talking with less of an accent.
Why?
Guys.
It leads to a question,
like, no,
actually.
Everything I do is on purpose, so calm down.
It leads to a great question, a related question from IG88. When was the word given for you to drop the accent? You're talking about that already, but I guess the second part of the question is, why was the decision made just to fade it out and not call it out or point it out, like with Kofi Kingston? When he dropped his accent, they actually mentioned it on TV. For you, it just kind of faded away. Why was that the call?
Well, you're asking me questions way above my pay grade. So they want to call the chairman and ask him that. Maybe he might know. Who's to say? But no, I mean, look, this is WWE. Everything is situational. Everything, it changes literally minutely. You know, we sometimes find out what we're doing 30 minutes before we go live. You just do, like, after I don't ask a lot of questions. Like, my job is to execute whatever they want to the best of my ability. And great. I mean, people think we're characters at the end of the day. It's like a movie, a TV show. It is a TV show. And, you know, you just do, if that's what they want. If they don't have, like I said early on like what we were talking about before, is like 2 hours. You only have so much to explain on a 2-hour TV show. Raw has a lot more time, 3 hours. It really does make a difference, that extra hour. And so they told me, it was probably around this time last year, they wanted me to lessen my accent to eventually have no accent. And I said, okay. And I was like, they never gave any explanation. And I think we were turning good guy. Maybe they thought the Russian thing sounded harsher. I don't know. I really don't know. I just do what I'm told. So I'm like, okay, great. I mean, maybe next week I'll have an accent again. You just never know. And I like to keep everyone on my toes. I mean, maybe everything I'm saying right now is not even true. You never know.
Well, you are.
I like to keep you guessing.
You're like a quadruple spy, maybe, kind of, sort of.
No, exactly. I know. Like, whose side am I working on right now?
Do you even know?
So, you know, that's the cool thing about WWE. It's like, you literally never know what's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen. So you just show up and you do it, and you do it to the best of your ability. And so cool. That's what they want. Got it. Let me do it to the best of my ability.
Here's an interesting related question as well from Dozy, and we're going to drill into this in a bit of a different way. They wanted to know, do you think your time without the accent on Total Divas hurt or affected your character on WWE TV at the time. But I think that opens up a larger question, which is, like, how do you feel about kind of the differential between what people see from you guys on Total Divas at the same time that they're watching you guys play different characters on WWE? Do you think that's kind of an uphill battle sometimes to be able to maintain one or both of those personas, so to speak?
No, I think it's two separate TV shows. Two separate TV shows, two separate networks. I don't think it at all like affected. Actually, I talked in a full accent. I mean, I was on the season Total Divas for 3 seasons, and the first 2 I talked in full, very thick Russian accent. So it didn't at all affect it. And they, I do know that you know, the chairman and our bosses, they were always, you know, that question I would always, and they go, no, that's 2 separate TV shows. They're completely separate. And so one doesn't affect the other. And I think, if anything, it showed, for me, individually, for me, CJ Perry, it actually gave me more liberty to actually be myself and have interviews like this. Because if I wouldn't have been on Total Divas, I wouldn't be having interviews like this. I would, if I did, it would be full on an accent. And so before Total Divas, I would have to do media full on an accent, like morning shows an accent, radio shows an accent, red carpet shows on accent. So for me personally, I'm actually really happy I did that, because I'm able to show, like, no, actually I am a character, and that character, the Ravishing Russian, Lana, she is an extension of myself, but she is an extension of myself. And I do speak perfect English, and I do speak perfect Russian, and I get to show both because of Total Divas. So I'm actually very thankful for that.
Cool.
And like I said, you never know. Like next week I could show up and all of a sudden I'm speaking in a Russian accent or a Japanese accent, or I'm learning Japanese, by the way, you know, because we're with Shinsuke. And so I've got to communicate with him. Rusev is learning Japanese too. So like, you never know. And cool. Or a Southern accent.
Hey. Maybe Kofi.
It's never a dull moment. I love it. It keeps me on my toes.
You could pick up Kofi's old Jamaican accent and just dust it off and give it to you. Sure.
Boom. Done. And guess what? I can do it because Lana's the best. Lana #1.
Pro writer.
That's the reason why I, for all the smart marks out there, that's the reason why I don't talk without an accent anymore, is because I've lived Lana. The Ravishing Russian has lived here for 6 years, and she's the best, and she's #1, and she's capable of speaking perfect English or perfect Russian or whatever you need, because she's the best and she's #1.
It's all well and good, but I don't know this smart mark you speak of. Don't know what you're talking about. But anyway,
I don't know what that is. What is that?
Well, one guy who I know is not one of those, he emailed us, Pro Writer. He wants to know, and I guess it's a he. I guess I'm jumping to conclusions. But Pro Writer wants to know, how long did you train before you actually got into the ring? And how often do you still train these days?
When I first started, I first started in NXT, I was training, but I was brought up really quick, and that was 2013. I was learning just, you know, how to bump and hit the ropes and, you know, headlock takeover. And, you know, there's a lot you need to learn in wrestling. They say it takes 10,000 hours to be a master at anything. So I was, brought up really quickly with Rusev, and I would get in the ring whenever I could with Goldust or Fit, with Miro, with Rusev. Goldust taught me a lot, like especially the first year and a half of just getting in the ring with him. I think because no one wanted to get in the ring with me, as in like people didn't want to get me. They didn't want me to get hurt because they had such big plans for Rusev, and they're like, oh my gosh, she's the mouth. Like, if she gets hurt, it hurts the gimmick. And so Goldust would get in with me and teach me. Because I'm like, no, I want to keep on learning. And I would just get in with him anytime. And then Fit started teaching me, and just learning from Fit and Goldust. And then I was able to finally, probably like maybe a month or two before I debuted in 2016, I started to go down the NXT, back down the NXT on my off days. And just, you know, because I lived in Nashville and NXT is in Orlando, and I would go down there on my off days and I would train, and probably for about another year, I did that as well. As just I would go down there like every other week, sometimes every week, and go. But I was also on the road full time, so it was like juggling a lot. Being, going there on Wednesday, Thursday, or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then flying out on Friday for the live events. And so I would try to do a live wrestle at a live event down in NXT on a Thursday, and so just trying to get the it was just it most people, when they wrestle, they just throw themselves in there. But I was juggling, being on a reality show, getting married, managing, and being on the road full time, and trying to learn how to wrestle, and get wrestling matches. So it was a lot, but I love it. And then Rusev got injured for a couple months, and I was able to go down to NXT and just be down there a couple months, which helped a lot. I learned a lot. And then the last couple of years, I guess the last year and a half, I've been just wrestling at all the live events, which has, it's incredible how much that helps. And I come early and I work. I'll get in with Fit or with the girls or 205, whoever's there to get in and wrestle with the girls, and we'll just practice, and whoever's available for me to beat up or get beat up by, and then have the matches. And yes, I do keep on training. I go to Finley's house in Atlanta whenever I can. He has a ring in his house, and I train there, just wanting to learn, always hungry. Brian Kendrick teaches me. Brian Kendrick is amazing. I've gone out to LA to his place several times. I've got in the ring. I get in the ring a lot with Brian Kendrick before. He's incredible. He's an incredible teacher as well. And some people just really have a skill of teaching. But Rusev, not so much. But Rusev is just, I'm like, how do I do that? He's just like, bump. I'm like, how can I do this? He's just like, bump, jump higher. I don't understand, jump higher. I'm like, not everyone's this super athlete, so no one had to break it down. He just does it because he's so athletic, and he's a super athlete. Like I call him, he really is. But Brian Kendrick, on the other hand, is literally, I go, you're such a good teacher. You will literally break everything down. You're like, oh, and then all of a sudden you start doing it. Some people have a gift of teaching. But Rusev has a gift of fighting, not teaching.
It's amazing, though, because I think it takes an interview, a conversation like this, for people to really learn about everything that you've done and that you continue to do on that side of things. Yeah. It's just not something that people would know otherwise. It's not something you see on TV. It's not something that, people would assume, which is kind of a shame, but it's great that we're getting it out there.
Yeah, I'm very thankful for even I don't post a lot of this stuff on social, so people really don't know, because I'm not. I'm a lot of times I might be in the ring with girls that I'm either teaming with or teaming against, and I just I know that some people would do that, like Eva Marie would do it or whoever, and that's great. But I kind of keep that door shut. I think it's not for. I'll talk about it, but it's on Total Divas, I was very lucky to show my in-ring journey on Total Divas. I'm very, very thankful for that, because if it wasn't for that, people would not have any idea. So I'm very, very thankful that I was able to show that and on the show. But just a lot of it is, it's just pulling the curtain back too far, I feel, for my social media and for the respective people that I'm in the ring with.
Is your curtain pulled back a lot further for your personal life, I'm talking about now, than before the Total Diva experience? Even though you're not on the show anymore, has that comfort level increased permanently for you guys to put yourselves out there and your lives out there for the world to see a bit?
What's the exact question again?
Well, I guess what I'm saying is, before Total Divas, I'd have to imagine you weren't very comfortable or very used to the idea of cameras following you around, of people knowing all these different aspects of your life away from the ring. You're not on the show anymore, but do you still feel kind of that urge to, put more videos out and to put your lives out there and to have that connection with the world?
Oh, for sure. Definitely. Absolutely. I mean, I love having that connection with the world. I love sharing my journey. I love sharing it, you know, and like kind of makes it for me personally, like setbacks and disappointments and even failures kind of worth it a little bit more if I can share it, because I'm like, you know, I'm human, I'm flawed. I make mistakes all the time. And, you know, I try to learn from it. I try to grow from it. And I enjoy sharing that because I hope that my experience will encourage someone else. My experience will help someone else get through maybe their disappointment, their setbacks, or their failures. And it's like, you know, there are something that a mistake they made, like they're not alone. And it's okay if we make mistakes as long as we learn from them and like try our best not to make it again. And so, yes, I do miss it. And I mean, maybe it just helps me feel better when I'm like, oh, it's worth it. Like what just happened is worth it because I'm helping someone else. But I hope to be able to, you know, I try to do it on social media, but like hopefully there'll be more opportunities to share our my life journey with Rusev, our family journey more.
Great. Flying High emailed and would like to know, what is your favorite WWE match of all time?
My favorite WWE match of all time. Anything with Rusev and I. Anything that Rusev is in or I'm in. No, I mean, I do think Rusev is incredible. I watch just a lot of his matches and I'm like blown away. I really, really liked Rusev and Roman's match at Hell in the Cell. That there were a lot of their stuff is like, I just love they're incredible. They have incredible chemistry and it's really exciting. Roman is actually on SmackDown Live because I'm hoping that, you know, once again, we'll be able to face him. I mean, Rusev, they're just these two big guys that are super, super athletic and, you know, they're big and they're, you know, obviously attractive men. And it's just like, whoa, a lot of athleticism. And they had incredible, incredible matches and incredible chemistry. And I always really enjoyed watching it ringside and always even watching it back. Like, I think those might be some of Rusev's favorite ones, but probably of all time would be WrestleMania 18, The Rock versus Hogan.
Okay.
WrestleMania.
That's
like,
great.
That was just like such a electrifying match. Like if you watch it, it's like how they listened to the crowd, how they acted. It was just like, and that's when I go, oh God, I love the WWE universe so much because they really do have such a part of our, show. Like when they're so into it, booing or cheering or just having an emotional reaction to what we're doing, it just makes it so much greater. And that's literally an electrifying match to me.
That's a great choice.
And it wasn't just, you know, we're in this time that it's all this high flying and, you know, almost like I'm watching gymnastics and almost watching Cirque du Soleil or watching like, seriously, I'll watch some of these high flyers and it's great. It reminds me of my breakdancing friends at Florida State. And they're doing all these breakdancing moves. And that's great. That's great. That's wonderful. But I think that we cannot forget that it cannot be just about moves. We are storytellers. We have to have emotion. Without emotion and just a bunch of moves, it's no different than like watching a gymnastics routine at the Olympics, which I love. I watch it. It's great. But this is a fight. And this is also, you make me feel something. I don't want to just be like, oh, that's a cool move. That's cool. That was cool. That was like some head spins or some windmills. That was really cool. Like my breakdancing friends. No, make me feel something. Like I want to connect with like either booing you or cheering you or make me feel something. Cause this is like that we're storytellers. We're not just athletes. Yes, we are athletes, but we're also storytellers.
That being said, what's the favorite match that so far you've been in, that you've competed in?
God, I have several. I have several for so many different reasons. Like sometimes I watch matches back and I literally am laughing my butt off because I'm like, I'm insane. Like I'm literally out of my mind. Like I will watch things back that I'm like, I can't believe what happened to me. Like what took over me. There was, probably of this like having freaking fun and ridiculousness was like a couple of the mixed match challenge matches that I had. I watched back and I was laying on the floor. I'm like, I am out of my mind. And, all of a sudden, this is why I like being a bad guy, because I'll just like cheat. And we had a match again. It was Rusev and I against AJ and Charlotte, and we had a chopping contest, a chop off contest. And you're supposed to only chop once, and I couldn't make a chop sound on Charlotte, so I just went nuts and like kept on hitting her like a crazy person. And then it's Charlotte Flair. Like I don't know if like her chops. I don't know if you like. Wow. Talk about pain. I think I was bruised for days. And I watched this back and I just am laying on the floor. I'm like, and it went viral. It went into like the millions. I'm like, this is what it's all about. Once again, emotion. And, but that was just like so much fun. And like stuff that I did with Naomi, like we went out there for the mixed match challenge. We were supposed to have a little dance battle, and both of us, I mean, we're former ex-dancers, former professional dancers. So like that, we always say like that was like a decade ago we were professional dancers, and they think we're like, we can't bust out the same moves we did in 1993. No, not really, but that's how it feels. So we're like, oh God, I don't know, what are we going to do? We're both nervous. And then all of a sudden the music hit and we just keep going. Each of us are just trying to outdo each other, like whatever you can do, I can do better. Just going and going. And the boys are like, we have like Miro's getting my attention. Like, and we're just like, we've gotten lost in our dance battle. And we watched it back. I was dying. I was like, I don't know what came over us. We just got lost and having fun of who could dance better. And so those are such great moments and so fun. That, you really get to see us just having a lot of fun. That's what I love about Mixed Match Challenge. But I think like when it comes to just like competitive, probably my Money in the Bank ladder match last year at Money in the Bank. I was really proud of that. I don't think anyone could have thought I would have a ladder match. A lot of people were like, oh, I bet you wish you weren't wrestling anymore and weren't wrestling because you have a ladder. And I'm like, no, I'm excited to have a ladder match. And that was so much fun. I hope to be in the ladder match again this year. It was great. It was a lot of fun, and I enjoy challenges, and it's a very high stake match. And I want to be in high stake things. I want to be in high stake situations, high stake matches, and so that I was very proud of.
Well, we've skipped over an entire high stakes part of your career before you ever even came to WWE, but Gary Sparrow emailed, and he wants to know how much fun it was working on the Pitch Perfect movies, which you were in 2 of them. What was that experience like for you to do the first and then to come back and be part of it again?
Oh, it was so much fun. The girls are great. The first movie, I was there for like 3 months. I was helping with rehearsals. I was like one of the team captain and like assistants to the choreographers. And I had to do Anna Kendrick's role and one of the boys' roles. So I knew every single dance. I knew I was rehearsing with the boys, rehearsing with the girls, knew everything. It was so much fun. I'm still very close with the cast, very close with Skylar and Adam and Adam Devine and Brittany Snow, Kelly Jackal, all those girls, Anna Kendrick. They're just such great people. I had so much fun. And then coming back, it was like a little family reunion, a little high school reunion. So that was great. And I love them. I'm very thankful for those friendships and that experience.
Cool. So here's a great one. This may be my favorite question of all. Jim Leahy wants to know, was Rusev Day born on the day that Rusev entered this world or on the day that he married you? What exactly was the first Rusev Day?
I would say the day he was born, right?
You know better than me.
Well, actually, the day he was born, I mean, actually, if you think about it, like in, I don't know if you're aware of this, but over in Bulgaria and in Russia, they have Names Day. So, like, if your name is Lana, all the Lanas celebrate Lana. If your name is Rusev, all the people celebrate Rusev. And so, I would say it first was born to the world on Total Divas when I threw him a Names Day. And that's when Larry Steve was on there. And Naya and Sheamus, and we had a boat party. very funny, actually. So that's when it was born to the world. But of course, the first Rusev day was when he was born. Well, actually, no, I take that back. The first Rusev day would have been on that's a really hard question. I guess I started the whole thing on Total Divas. I'm just going to take credit for it, actually.
Well, this is your
I'm just going to take credit. Since we can't make it, since I don't know, I'm just going to take credit for it.
I think so, but I think you also get to set the rules. So this is your shot to create the whole backstory now. Yeah.
Perfect.
You got time.
I like that.
Yeah, you set the rules.
Basically, it started when I threw the first Rusev day on Total Divas on the boat when Larry Steve was introduced to the world. If you don't know who that is, that's Alexis is supposed to be small little pig that is like literally a huge pig. It's like 5 times my size now. You should check it on Instagram. And I go and watch and I laugh my little butt off again because I'm like, are you kidding me? That's your pet animal. You sleep with it. So that was when the Rusev Day was born. Yes, on that. And then, then he won. Then that was history. Then he beat Randy Orton. A ceremony happened, and Aiden started singing melodies, and then little children started singing melodies, and there it was.
That's the most beautiful. It's the most beautiful story ever told. I love it.
Well, that's what I do.
Well, look, we got one more question for you, Lana. You've been so great with your time and so awesome answering all this wackiness. Radke emailed and would like to know, essentially, are you still training in the ring? And we've talked about your schedule, but now that you're back on TV and you're focusing a little more on being a manager for Rusev, for Shinsuke Nakamura, are you planning to continue for the foreseeable future to also pursue that in-ring career?
Yes, of course. I'm still wrestling. I'm still training. On TV, I'm managing the Rusev and Shin, but like I said before, it's WWE. Anything can change at any given time. You just have to stay prepared. I love wrestling. And so I know I'm going to be wrestling again on TV, and I am training. I stay training.
Awesome. And
I love wrestling.
You stay on TV, people stay watching you, and you stay one of our favorite parts of WWE SmackDown and the WWE universe at large. So we thank you so much. Thanks so much, and thanks to you guys for joining us this time out. Make sure you check us out. Thanks, Lana.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You too. Thanks.
Bye.